As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play. In youth, you'd lay awake at night and scheme.
It happened all of a sudden, and I really wasn't expecting it. Everything was going normal, and I came home and realized that I had red spots all over my legs that looked like a rash, but I've never even had a rash before, so I was pretty surprised. They looked like tick bites, which was what I initially suspected, and then came the abdominal pain, which was pretty mild but then intensified, so I was on a constant stream of acetaminophen. After a few days of the constant abdominal pains, I decided to visit the doctor, and that was when they diagnosed me with what they first thought was Henoch-Schönlein purpura.
In August of 2011, I started to have really awful joint pain to the point that I couldn't move. My mom was dressing me, she was feeding me, and I ended up being diagnosed with total body psoriatic arthritis. And I went through a number of different treatments. And then in January of 2012, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease on top of the psoriatic arthritis.
That is pretty hard to summarize because it was 12 years worth of experience. I was first diagnosed when I was 10 years old after already suffering for about 2 years. And then I was treated for 2 years after that. And then I had more testing that I guess somehow led to me no longer having Crohn's. That's what the doctors told me. Until very recently, I was just battling Crohn's by myself. I was in the hospital maybe twice a year. And then this summer I was hospitalized.
I started to feel really tired, like I couldn't really think that well. And this was the summer leading into high school. I had a lot of people around me who didn't actually believe that something was wrong. So part of me was thinking like, am I crazy? And I got a lot of different diagnoses from different doctors. They thought I had chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia, food allergies, depression. I just got a bunch of different answers, so it was sort of frustrating to not have one solid diagnosis to stick to.
Leading up to my diagnosis, there were warning signs basically my whole life from 13 on that I had something wrong with me, but I never actually realized what it was until I ended up in the hospital after a really traumatic incident where I just lost a ton of blood and had like a seizure. It actually took a year after that hospitalization for your doctors to finally figure out.
Just immediately relief. It was such a relief to know that all this time where I was just struggling with pain and suffering like inside, and no one else could see that something was wrong, and I just had to tell them like, I'm in pain, I can't move, I can't get out of bed today, and have people look at me and say like, well, you look fine, and just to constantly have to explain to them, well, I don't think I am fine. It was so validating.
I've actually never heard about it. So I actually looked it up online, and the doctor explained as well. I wasn't expecting myself to get an autoimmune disease, because that's something you hear about and learn about in like classes, but you never thought it would happen to you. Like you never thought you would be so vulnerable as to get something like this.
My first thought when I received my diagnosis was, duh. I've been dealing with this for 12 years, so it was good to have the validation that I wasn't crazy, that it wasn't in my head. But I do have to say, at first I was really scared. I felt alone, I felt kind of hopeless and helpless. The biggest change has been the fact that I actually need to put my health first, and not just say I need to do that.
So I take much better care of my body now, and I really appreciate what it does for me, just like walking around the streets of Boston and going to class every day. It's really a blessing.
I'm sort of a type A person, and I like to get everything done, and I like to be perfect. And sometimes it's hard to accept that I have to put my health first sometimes, and I do have to cancel plans or cancel this. But putting my health first has been a journey in and of itself, of learning how to do that to the best of my ability.
My disease has been a blessing in disguise. It actually helped me discover my passion to fight for patients who are battling autoimmune diseases. It was obviously a very difficult time for for me to struggle through my autoimmune diseases, but now that I'm in remission, I feel so blessed that I have the opportunity to help other patients who are going through what I've been through. And now I work in the biotech industry within patient advocacy, working with drug development companies or biotech companies to bring treatments and cures to market and incorporating the patient voice in the drug development process. It's certainly not easy to be diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, but know that there is so much support out there for people who are battling autoimmune diseases, and you will get the help that you need. There are treatments in development. There are patients who can be fellow resources for you. So don't be discouraged. You will get through it, and it is an experience that is ultimately going to make you a stronger person.
I would tell them to stay calm and seek help, because autoimmune diseases are actually pretty severe and you don't want them to be left alone and then get worse. So I would say seek diagnosis from multiple doctors just to get different opinions on what they actually are before you actually start treatment.
Sometimes it's really hard to imagine what it's like to feel healthy, but I would say to just keep imagining yourself feeling healthy, and one day you will get to that point. And don't lose hope. Keep that vision of your healthy self in your mind, because you will get there.
It's okay to be sad. I had someone say, "You are mourning a loss. You're mourning the loss of your health." And at first I thought that was insane, and I started to think about it, and I realized that that was so true. I was mourning, I was sad over the fact that I was never going to be healthy, and I had to realize that. So it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to feel.
I would encourage people to read up more on autoimmune diseases, because not much is known about them as of this moment, and even the people with autoimmune diseases themselves don't really know what's going on sometimes. And also I would say that if you have a friend or family who you suspect might have an autoimmune disease, just tell them to get help, because the symptoms are actually a combination of common symptoms you might have in everyday life.
I want people to know that education is extremely important, and that talking about all of these diseases and all these problems that people could have with their health is the only way that people are going to find out about them and therefore be able to manage them and get better from these diseases.
As a society, we really need to start looking at autoimmune diseases from an umbrella perspective. We need to begin to not silo them and look at them as their own individual diseases, because there are 50 million Americans who are battling autoimmune diseases, and we need to find treatments and cures. They are chronic, debilitating, and invisible illnesses that people struggle with every single day of their lives. And if we start to look at them from an umbrella category, we're going to be able to discover treatments and cures faster. We're going to have more funding. We're going to have more research happening. And what's exciting about autoimmune diseases is that a lot of the treatments overlap. So someone who's being treated for Crohn's could also be treated for arthritis via the same medication.